Okay, welcome back to another Live Life by Design, and today we have the Jordan Benning
Yes, sir.
in the house. Thanks for being here, my man.
Thank you.
It's been a long time coming.
It's been a long time.
So Benning is actually one of my favorite human beings. When you think of sales and recruiting and building cultures and having a following, this guy is the goat of all goats when it comes to all that. Have a lot of respect for Jordan. His people are extremely loyal to him, and it's not because of what he says, it's because of what he does. When Jordan says this is going to happen, it always happens. His people know that. His people follow that. He's a true leader, and it's a pleasure for me to have him on today and just to have a discussion, a dialogue on living life by design.
Let's do it. Grateful to be here.
Thanks for being here. So let's dig right in. What gets you excited about life in general? And then we can unpack it, but just what gets Jordan Benning stoked out of his mind right now?
Yeah, I think I think life has seasons, and I think business has seasons, and I think the more I've kind of been in like this industry and been in business, and obviously the longer I've lived, I feel like what matters to me now, what wakes me up, is probably different than what woke me up, 10 years ago.
And how old are you now?
15 years ago, 39.
39.
Yeah, and I think to summarize it, like what gets me going is just coming home. Like, dude, I want to come home and I want my kids running to me and be like, Dad's here, right? Like, if I could summarize like success, it's like, hey, am I coming home, walking in the door, and my kids are sprinting to me, right?
That's cool.
And I don't think I would have said that 10 years ago when I didn't have kids. I didn't, you don't realize like how much of that matters and how much everything else probably doesn't matter. What gets me going, I'd say business-wise, dude, I just like to compete. I like to win. I like the chase. I like the war. I like the recruiting aspect. I like the changing people's lives. And I like seeing, hey, recruiting a 19-year-old and now he's 25 and how much, growth has taken place. And I like to be like a key part of that.
What are some of the success stories you've had in regards to that with helping, young men and women come into your program and having their life turned around, not just in the monetary sense, but in the whole person paradigm?
Yeah, I think for us, we try and, dude, it's kind of when you recruit, like any recruit you go to, you're in a recruiting meeting, any recruit you meet, it's like, I'm not trying to work with you for a year. I'm trying to work with you as long as we do this job.
Till the wheels fall off.
100%. And I usually say that in almost every recruiting meeting because that's how I feel. And if you look at like the track record of who I work with and kind of who I built with, we worked together a long time. And on top of that, there's been people that have come in that are here like, I think the knock sometimes is like, those dudes have all worked together a long time. It's hard to break into that inner circle. And I just don't think that's the case. Just the standard of that inner circle is this, and kind of like what we've gone through, what success is. And we have a lot of stories, man. I look at Steven Roselle, who was our top earner the last 2 years. He worked with us at another place for 5 years and was nothing.
Where was he before?
We were at Vivint together.
Vivint.
And so he was with us at Vivint for 5 years. And if we had like a top 200 event, he didn't make it. He'd sold 50, 60. I think his best year was 90, 95. And I look at him today, he made over $2 million last year. And it's kind of like the Chinese bamboo tree effect, right? Like you're planting, you're watering for 5 years. And, over a course of 6 weeks, you grow 90 feet. Like everyone has that Chinese bamboo tree moment. You just got to stick it out long enough to go experience that. And some come faster than others.
Do they all have it though? Or do some never get that moment?
Some never get that moment because
it's embedded, but some don't harvest it?
100%. Okay. And they don't harvest it because, dude, and it's kind of goes back to some things we could go unpack where it's kind of the same reason I don't have social media. I don't have Instagram. I never have it's because people are so caught up on like, what's the next best thing? What's the next best thing? I want to do this. When in reality, it's like, dude, the people at the top, they're in the arena longer than everyone else, and they grind it longer than everyone else. And you can usually scale it back, and it's not a skill thing. It's not a talent thing. It's not a wisdom thing. It's who's able to stick it out longer than everyone else, right? And those are the people that usually get to the top.
Yeah, Hamosi posted the other day. He says entrepreneurs don't run out of money; they run out of energy.
100%.
And the consistency. But yeah, I mean, you and I both are very well known for consistency and sticking it out. And I think that's the key. It's the falling in love with the mundane. It's falling in love with the boring, so that success can take effect.
Yeah.
And you look at any successful athlete, any successful business person, that's the common thread. That's the common denominator in there.
Yeah, there was a video. It was kind of like that. It's like it's going through the storm and realizing that eventually the storm ends. Most people die through the storm, and it's die because they give up. They run out of energy. They lose sight of the vision. They lose sight of their focus. And I think the biggest thing in that video I remember, it was like, don't give up before the miracle. And you got to realize, like, in life, in business, in parenthood, like there's little miracles along the way.
Sure.
But let's just talk sales. Let's talk business. Do too many people quit before they go experience the miracle?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times we stem it back, and it's like, dude, it's the people at the top. Just they survived and they outworked everyone, and they know, like, hey, these obstacles. It's all about the horizon you view those obstacles in, right?
So the way I unpack that, Jordan, and I've been preaching this for the last month or so, but you have to fall in love with the process. You can't fall in love with the result.
For sure.
It's like that meme with the dude with the pickaxe trying to mine the diamond. Couple more picks away, and boom, he gets that massive diamond.
Yeah.
But in turn, it shows him turning around and giving up because he had picked for so long and he didn't get the reward. I give up. But if he would have just stuck to it and let the law of the harvest take effect, he would have mined the diamond.
Yeah, everyone wants to get to the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
No one wants to climb. And I think it's the joy in the climb and understanding, like, to get to the top, dude, you gotta go through the climb. And the climb's not all sunshine and rainbows, right? The climb is obstacles. The climb's overcoming. The climb's like the refiner's fire. You got to go through it all to get to the top.
Have you ever met a successful athlete or business owner or just individual that's just been a straight linear line of success?
No, because it doesn't work like that,
Yeah.
right? And I think the more successful people you meet, and success is relative. Like, I try and view success, dude, money's a key aspect, but it's not the only thing, right? It's something, but it's not the only thing. And I don't kind of view success on, like, hey, this guy makes so much money. It's like,
Right.
dude, is he a good dad? Is he a good parent? It's kind of like when Eric Thomas spoke to us probably 10 years ago at this point, when he's like, hey, I want to be a triple-double guy. I want to be the best at everything. And I kind of view success that way. If I'm a billionaire and I'm walking in the door and my kids don't come running to me, I failed, right? So it's like, I try and, take success, not just money's an aspect, but it's one of the few things, right? But to get there, it's like, dude, it's not a straight line.
Yeah.
You got to go through it all.
Yeah, so there's this quote that I love that says, success without is life's ultimate failure.
Yeah.
Success is fulfillment, period, end of story.
100%.
So if you're fulfilled the way that you're fulfilled, where you get home and your kids run to daddy,
Yeah.
that's success in and of itself.
Yeah.
Because you're grinding for them. But if you're a deadbeat and your kids don't even acknowledge your existence, you run into that, you come into the house and they don't even want to see you. Ugh.
Yeah.
It's not a good look.
100%.
It's not a triple-double.
No, 100%. 100%. And I'm big on that. I'm big on that.
No, I know you are. And what's cool is, I'll correct you. You are on social media. You're just on the old school Facebook.
Yeah,
But I see your stories, and to commend you, it's usually about your kids and your wife.
Yeah.
Which I think is awesome.
Yeah, or some, yeah, it is. Like, and I got Facebook to keep in touch with people from my mission. I've kind of just never, like, killed it, and people make fun of me all the time. I've never gotten into anything else, mainly because I feel like it's not a priority for me. I don't have time. It's not that I don't have time. It's not a priority to make.
Yeah. You don't want to make the time. And I agree with you on all that.
Yeah,
by the way.
I feel like I need
think
to just
you know what
focus.
my strategy is on social media.
For sure.
Like, I
For
do
sure.
one of these
For sure.
essentially a month,
For
and
sure.
the team takes over.
100%.
So it is what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so that people understand, maybe explain the business that you're in, because we've talked a lot about business, and a lot of viewers have literally no idea.
Yeah.
A lot of our viewers are actually from, like, the East Coast,
Cool.
New York, etc. So explain what you do, and what your role is, and how long ago you founded your company.
Yeah. Okay. Just to unpack it. So what? Started 2021. We got into solar.
Perfect time to start a business.
Yeah, perfect time. And that's a different conversation. We can talk to in a sec. But started 2021, obviously did home security for a long time. I don't even know the math. I think it was 14 years.
And what was your first company where you started security?
Called Vision Security.
Vision Security.
They're 5 years, Vivint 8 years, and we've done solar 5 years.
Got it.
So it's been a long time.
Yep.
And so, yeah, now CEO, New Sun Power. kind of got in the solar industry. And, that's a whole different conversation, but it's kind of like a turning point where I had all these different offers and money being thrown to kind of stay in the business I was in, which was home security. It's what I knew. It was safe. I had guys that were really, really good at it. And I just kind of felt like where I was great. Obviously, there's some chaos to get to this turning point. But I just felt like I'd kind of be a hypocrite staying in that industry, not selling Vivint. And dude, I just wanted something new. And I kind of took the path of no money. I had a couple partners, had a credit line, and it was like, we're going to go figure this out. We went on a blitz. We had I think a setter make 10 grand. And we're like, we're never selling alarms again. And dude, I think what people don't realize with me, my friends know, like, dude, I have no animosity. Like, life is about like exploiting the platform you're on, getting to the next, right? And like I look back at my time at Vivint, it was 99% great. And dude, I see the stock crushing and my friends are making great money. I'm super happy for them. Like it doesn't change my life anymore. I'm so like abundant in that sense of like there's so much money in the world to go make and we can all go make it. Let's go make it. And what I would say too is like, dude, my time at Vivint, I dominated.
Sure.
There's people at Vivint that never dominate, right? And so it's like, you got to figure out the game you're playing, the platform you're in, and go dominate that game. And then, we transitioned to solar, and we kind of looked at solar the way I look at a couple other industries where I'm like, dude, it's kind of slow. It's the same. It hasn't really been flipped on its head. Let's go do setter closer. And we just attacked it that way. We're transitioning a bunch of 19 to 22-year-olds that I don't think could close solar day one. So we had to go build a different platform than kind of like the current going rate. And we said, hey, let's go flip this thing on its head. Let's do all setter closer. Let's do all leads. Focus on your most profitable skill set. Clear progression of a rep. Setter captain, closer. Let's go. People pay for speed. Let's go partner with the right strategic install partners. And I feel super blessed with kind of the decisions we made there. Let's go partner with the right finance partners. And dude, I look back and dude, the solar industry. I look back and, I'm not going to throw names under the bus, but like financiers have gone out of business. Installers who were the biggest when I started gone out of business. And I feel lucky, but I also feel like, dude, luck is a byproduct of actions. And it's about the work you put in, and it's about the inspecting that you do. And I think a lot of times we go into sales and we go into business and we have these expectations when really we should be inspecting. And so I look at who like we're strategically aligned with on the install side, and who that is. And I'm like, dude, that was the best decision I ever made. And mainly because he knows the game. And I took his counsel, I took his advice, and here we are today. We'll go do $100 million in revenue. And I don't think a lot of companies can say that. And even when I look at the solar space, it's like, dude, there's competitors. Like, I'm not competing with anyone. Like, I don't view anyone as a competitor. I wish them well. I have friends at other places. I hope they dominate. But I want to dominate too, and I'm going to dominate.
Yeah. So essentially, I mean, this is how I would interpret what you just said. And I think I know you well enough where I think this is what you would agree to as well. Competition is what makes us all greater.
Sure.
To compete with somebody means that I show you enough respect that I'm willing to go compete against you. I want you to bring your best so I can also bring my best. And together we'll conspire to elevate our game. Right?
100%.
You don't wish anybody harm or ill will or anything.
No, I'm not trying to win the race because everyone broke their leg.
Yeah.
You score 30, I'm scoring 40.
Yeah, it's like,
you know what I mean?
I believe in abundance, and competition breeds more abundance. Scarcity
100%.
is the world's biggest lie.
100%.
Just because you're dominating doesn't mean that my opponent can't dominate.
Exactly.
As well.
And the space, so many times we're preached to and we're taught, like, no, you can only make money here. This is the only place. Everyone else is going to fail. They suck. And it's like, well, I just don't think that's the case. I think there's too many examples of just it being the complete opposite.
No, listen,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a company for everybody.
100%.
For some guys, it makes sense to be at company A. For
sure.
some, it makes sense to be at company B, so forth and so on.
And I think what I learned too is where I was before. Like, dude, I ran sales. You ran sales there as well, and that's how we got to know each other. And I look at that, and dude, running sales and entrepreneurship are two different things. And I think a lot of times we think, oh, I'm 1099, I'm in sales, I'm an entrepreneur. It's like, no, you're not. Running sales, like, dude, that means you're the best B player. Like, and that would be my advice is, dude, the entrepreneurship stuff is not for everyone. I didn't wake up thinking, man, I'm I'm going to go start a business. I'm going to be the CEO. That was never my goal. For the first year when we started, I was like, don't call me CEO. I don't like that. I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, we're friends. Like, just call me like Jordan. You know what I mean? And because what I'd say is like, dude, where I was before, like, oh, I know sales. Like, you didn't run a P&L. When you're an entrepreneur, you eat last. When you're good at sales, you eat first, right? And so my advice for people listening is like, dude, don't get it twisted. Dude, go be the best B player. Like, go be the best B player, have less stress, learn sales, you get rich off sales, use that vehicle and go invest, right? That's what I would say. It's like, dude, I got lucky. I figured it out. Yeah. Mainly because I know I'll figure it out.
But are you saying strictly in the solar game, or are you saying generally?
In general, man. I think so many people, it's why I don't have Instagram. People get so caught up in titles. I want to be the CEO. A CEO of a failing company is very different than being the VP of sales of a very good company, right? Very different pay, very different stress, very different liability. Yeah. And I think so many times we get twisted because your wife's like, no, you need to be this. It's like, dude, don't take a step back. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's a lot, like you listen to anything like Patrick Bet-David's like, I made the most money when I was a B dude, the best B dude. And that'd be my advice is, dude, learn sales, get rich off sales, be the best B dude, right? Like, don't think like you need the CEO title. CEO title means you eat last. Are you prepared for that? I was prepared for that because I have a lot of real estate that pays me regardless, we make money or not. But I'd think twice. That's Beautiful. What I'd say.
Okay, awesome. Now let's pivot into some of these questions. So, and these are a little bit more introspective questions. And I love asking this question. In fact, I asked Kevin this. But let's say that I don't know if, did you watch the podcast with Kevin?
I watch all your podcasts.
So I give you a box. You probably know this question already. I give you a box, and in this box is everything that Jordan Binning has lost throughout your 39 years of life of being on this earth. And let's make it a tangible item. Let's not make it something intangible. So it's not like, the feeling of this or that, the other, like an actual object. It's just a curious question that I'm asking. So in 39 years, you've lost a lot of stuff. Now I give you a box that contains everything you've ever lost. What does Jordan Binning look for first in that box?
What's in your box?
I'm asking you. But you're a good salesman. You almost porcupined me back, but I'm asking you today.
I get a box, everything I lost.
Yeah. Could be when you were 2 years old, 13 years old, 20 years old.
What do I look for first?
What does Jordan Binning look for first? If you want, I can come back to that question. I can ask you another one.
You can come back. Yeah, go ahead.
Are you ready to answer? Or?
Yeah. Okay. No. The next.
Well, the next one is still going to be introspective too. So now, everybody that you've ever met in your lifetime is in a room, and these folks could have also been passed on to the other side. People that are no longer with us here on Earth. So you're in this room, and everybody that you've ever met is in this room, and they're like, "Hi, Jordan." Who does Jordan look for first in that room?
My wife.
Why?
I feel like going through life and going through I've been married 14 years. There's not, and I have some friends that are like, they will take
3 a.m. friends.
I judge it a lot. I land at the airport, flight's late, 2 a.m., wife's out of town, who's picking me up? I have a lot of those friends. Yeah. And friends I work with and friends I don't. I have a buddy who lives here in Utah now randomly, not LDS. I grew up with him 8th grade. That dude's one call away. He's showing up. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I put a huge price tag on the relationships I have. That means more to me than anything. Yep. And I look for my wife mainly because, dude, she through the hardest times, darkest times, they just weren't very hard or dark, and it's because of her. And people would always ask me during those times, how did your wife take it? It's like, dude, my wife's a rider. My wife is down for the ride. And I think she has a lot of trust in me. Is dude, I'll figure it out. I think what people don't realize too, when you go through hard times, you go through obstacles, they're not that hard at all. Give it 6 months. In the moment, it's okay. But 6 months, you look back and dude, I'm 100 times better today from what I learned during the dark times.
Isn't it crazy how when we're given a problem, when it first hits us, how big we make it 100%. Feel and look?
And dude, I feel like I've gone through some big things in business, kind of in your face. But dude, I think if we threw our problems in the mid, in a circle, I'd pick my own problems. Yeah. I have some friends that have gone through some crazy stuff.
But listen, I wanna hark on this. The problems that we create in our mind are way bigger than the problems that actually occur.
Yeah, because
you
you think it's a crazy problem. It's kind of like the person's like, oh, my hairs are receding. It's like, dude, I didn't realize that. Like, you think about that 24/7.
Nobody cares.
Like, no one
but
cares.
you, yeah.
It's all good. But you obviously think about it all the time. And yeah, so, dude, 100%, I picked my wife. I picked my wife mainly because it's like, dude, I feel like during the tough, and when I say tough times, like, dude, we're so lucky to live where we live, have the opportunities we have. So I don't
Where'd you guys meet?
At BYU, Hawaii.
In Hawaii?
Yeah.
Cool. She was playing soccer, right?
She played soccer there. Yeah. I met
Were you
her there.
playing sport?
No. Just went out there basically I grew up in Seattle. I was like, I should probably be around some LDS people. Went out there, met her.
Were you going to school at the same school?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Yep.
Did you graduate from there?
Yeah.
Oh, like
investment finance.
oh, cool.
Yeah.
At BYU Hawaii the whole time.
JUCO baseball on my mission. Came back. JUCO baseball. Tore my quad. Went out to sell. Next year went to BYU Hawaii.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then what position in baseball, by the way?
First base, right field.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. And did she play soccer her entire college career?
Yeah. My senior year was her freshman year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Then 2 kids, correct?
Just had another one last week.
So
3.
3 kids. Congrats.
Thanks. 2 girls and a boy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
More in the
No,
plans?
No. Done.
Okay, the trio.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, let's go back to the box. Are we ready? And it's your answer. You can take it however you want. But I love asking these questions because it makes us think.
Yeah, dude. And it's tangible.
Tangible. On this one, it's tangible. Do you want me to give you my answer?
Yeah,
That'll help you.
I'm curious.
As silly as this might sound, when I was living in the Dominican Republic, I lived there from age 5 to 10.
Yeah.
I lost a Star Wars figure. And it was one of my favorite figures. I can't even remember who the character was. But I was always so careful maintaining all my toys like in a really organized way. Like I'm that kid that knew where every toy was.
Yeah.
And I positioned them in the right way, kind of like systems, I guess you would say. And I was so bugged that I couldn't find this one toy. I turned the house over. I looked for weeks on end. And it always bugged me that I couldn't find that one specific toy. To this day, I think about it maybe like once a month. Where did that toy go? My suspicion is that somebody stole it. But for some reason, that toy meant a lot to me. And the fact that I couldn't figure out where it was bugged me. So that would be my response. As silly as it might sound, but that's my response.
Dude, yeah.
I think it was like a Han Solo or something. I'm serious.
I don't think there's anything that
I
like
was so shocked that I lost it.
I don't think there's anything that kind of haunts me other than.
And it doesn't need to be a haunt. I'm just curious.
Yeah, there's an expensive mistake I made at BYU Hawaii, and it involves money, and so I probably would want that money back.
Got it.
And I'll walk you through it and I'll be quick. And I was dating my wife. I didn't talk to her for 2 days. I just kind of stared at the wall. I was like, I'm going to learn options. Dude, I love investment finance. I thought I was going to go be a Wall Street trader.
Yeah.
Then I was like, okay, I'm going to be a sports agent. So when I made the decision, when I switched to Vivint, I was studying for my LSAT. And I had done this job 5 years, had just made over $500,000. But I was like, I'm going to go be a sports agent. It wasn't ever a full-time job until the switch to Vivint.
Yep.
Apple hadn't missed in like 5 years in earnings. I put 60 grand in, and then they missed first time in 5 years. And the next day I woke up and it was 2 grand. And at the time, like 60 grand was like
It's a lot. Not
$5
the time,
million bucks.
today's
You know what I
time,
mean?
too.
You know what I mean? Like it was a lot at the time
lot.
for what I had. And it was 2 grand. And
So it went from 60 to 2 in what time frame?
24 hours.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's options, right? And I was, had bought these calls and they missed earnings first time in 5 years. And it just taught me a lot about like being careless with my money. And ever since then, dude, you know my strategy. I'm like boring real estate and I have a number, and that number's obviously increased how much I want to get each month. And like people make fun of me, but they don't make fun of me now because I have, 100 plus stores.
Yeah.
I have good, But like it took me 13 years to get here,
Sure.
and I'm not even happy. I'm trying to think way, way bigger. But I look at it and it's like that's why I don't have Instagram. People get so caught up in like the crypto, get rich fast. It's gonna be 1,000x. Da 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 da.
Yep.
I think if you invested in what you know, you wouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
And it just taught me a lot. Ever since that day, I've just kind of been all in on real estate. And honestly, that next year I bought my first rental property. In the last 12 to 13 years, that's all I've been doing.
Why do you love real estate so much? Thanks for sharing that. That's pretty
Because I like offset.
private.
I like to offset income. I like to get mailbox money. And dude, there's a huge difference, and it goes back to what I talk about, right? Like learn sales. You get rich off sales, but you don't get wealthy off sales. You get rich off sales.
Yeah.
You get wealthy by taking that, by getting your earned income up and investing that to go get passive income, right? And I like real estate just because it's a playbook that's hard to trump. Like I know what I'm getting. I'm getting cost segregation. I'm getting cash flow. I'm getting appreciation. And dude, I don't need to hit home runs. I need to hit a lot of doubles. A lot of doubles can get you in the Hall of Fame.
When and where did you learn these principles?
Crazy enough, I bought my first rental property, my father-in-law. So last year at BYU Hawaii, I had already graduated. My wife was playing soccer, but like it was our last year there. We knew we were going to come back in the fall for our soccer season, going out for the summer, but like, hey, where are we going to live? We're going to buy our first house. Bought a house in, where was it? San Alejo Hills, which is near like Encinitas in California. My wife's from down there. Bought this house with her dad. We went 50-50 on it. We rented it for a year until we were going to move. And then I switched to Vivint and they were like, you got to move to Utah. And dude, growing up LDS, Seattle, a couple LDS friends, I was like, I do not want to live in Utah.
Sure.
Like that is not ideal. You know what I mean? And I was 100% wrong. Love Utah. It's been amazing. But bought that rental property. So then when I made the decision, hey, we're going to move to Utah, we sold it. And we split like 80 grand each. So we split 80 grand, so like 40 something grand each. And I was like, that was crazy. And then like the more you think about it, so my father-in-law got me into it because he has like 5 or 6 rentals. And dude, he has a lot of free time. He runs a business, but like a lot of free time. And you know, I kind of grew up the opposite, like work, corporate ladder, put your money in, you know, stock market, let it appreciate. But if you actually like do the math and like, okay, you had 200 grand, you put in the stock market, it doubles every 5 years, whatever they say. If you had 200 grand and you leveraged the asset and it doubled every 5 years, you're going to be way more wealthier in real estate. Yeah. And so dude, ever since that transaction, it's just, I've gone hard in real estate. Bought a rental property the next year, all cash, made $1,200 a month. Next year, rental property, all cash, mainly because I didn't know how to get a loan. I didn't even know how that went. My father-in-law did the first one. And then I rolled those into two fourplexes, and the rest has been history. I bought an 18-plex. It's just kind of been, and obviously bought apartments in Dallas and stuff. So it's been
so
a slow, steady ride.
Part of the lesson here is understand the asset class, understand all the levers that can be pulled, because it's a lot of levers. It's not just the appreciation piece. It's the cash flow piece. It's the depreciation, cost segregation piece. And also the lesson to be learned is your biggest lever really is your active income.
100%.
That's your biggest.
And that's why I say, like, dude, learn sales.
Learn sales because the sky is the limit, literally. Sure. Take all that active income and then strategically place it into passive income so you can be more tax efficient and so that money can start multiplying for you.
Yeah, and I think if you invest in real estate, you got to obviously write the check, right? And I think writing the check's tough. I think the first check's the hardest check to write. But dude, there's not, like, I don't check my bank. I get paid every week from work. I get distributions at the end of the year. The only time I check my bank account is I have properties in Utah with the Woodleys. They manage them. I get paid. I know what day I get paid. I have properties in Texas with you guys. I know when I get paid. 2 times I check my bank account. I want to see what that check is. Yeah, because I have a number. It's like, bro, I can live off this money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The other money is just like whatever. The other money is getting me to go buy the next thing. I can live off that money.
That's awesome.
And dude, it's just, it takes discipline. And it's like, people make fun of me like, dude, all your dudes have supercars. You don't. Awesome. They have a lot of rentals too. I think we've been really good at that. I have a lot of guys that know the game and super proud of them for that. And you know, this is a flashy world now. Guys want to go have supercars and stuff, and do both. That would be my advice is do both. Don't do the supercar thing before you do the rental car thing. That just doesn't like appeal to me, and I want to just go hard in real estate.
Yeah, love it. Okay, so Jordan, one thing I know about you is you do a lot of parallel with sports and in business. You know, the world of sports and the world of business, they intersect.
For sure.
And the more you can get them to intersect, I think the more successful your business will be.
For sure.
Right? Because, again, entrepreneurs don't run out of cash. They run out of energy. When you're competing, when you're playing a sport that you love, your energy is super high.
Yep.
So maybe talk to him about those parallels and how you view winning in the game of business and how it correlates to sports.
Yeah, and I think it correlates a lot to business, and I think it correlates a lot to sales. I think sales is the closest thing to sports without playing sports.
And why would you say that?
Just because, dude, once you're done playing sports at a like high level, it's at any level. It's sales is like, how are you going to go get that rush? How are you going to go compete? How are you going to go win? How are you going to go dominate? How are you going to go get that in your life? And dude, 9 to 5s, and it's not even 9 to 5s, just outside of sales. Like I view sales as like, dude, you're going to go get that rush. You're competing. And what people don't realize is, dude, I'm not competing against anyone else. Like people are like, oh, you're like him. You're going to be this. It's like, it's me versus me. Like, go be the best version of yourself. And in sales, when I used to sell, that's how I attacked it every day. My best day is 10. How do I go do 11? You know what I mean? It's how do you go beat your best day every day?
What was your best day at Vivint?
Oh, dude, I forget. Probably 10.
10?
Yeah, I probably 10. It's been a long, dude. It's been 5 years. I'd probably say 10. Okay. I think in solar, I sold solar 2 quarters. I installed 19 or 18 in a week. So
that's crazy.
Kind of knew what I was doing back in the day. But yeah, but what I'd say with sales and say with sports is, yeah, there's a lot of parallels because the underlying parallel is it's who doesn't give up, who's going to outwork everyone else. And like that's what I view it as. It's like, dude, okay, my alarm goes off at 5:05 every day except Sunday. You know what I mean? And it goes off at 5:05. And of the people I work with, I know who's up at 5:05. Not a lot of people, but I know there's a few. And I look at it and it's like, okay, I can control what I can control. I can outwork
5:05? Why not 5? I'm just curious.
I don't know. I feel like I get a little more sleep, right? I don't know. I don't know why it's been 5:05.
No, sometimes I'll set my alarm like 02.
Yeah.
05.
Yeah, I don't know.
10.
Yeah, 5:05, it's just been that way. And so it's like I know what time I get to the gym. I know when I listen. I know I have meal plans, like meal prep, where I just heat them up and eat. Like I've tried to like systematize everything.
Yeah,
where it's
we talk about all the time. Make the things that you should do easy, and make the things that you should not do difficult when you're building systems.
Yeah, because it's like, dude, it's people talk about priorities, and it's like, show me your schedule, I'll show you your priorities.
Yeah,
show me your calendar. You know what I mean? And like my calendar says when I wake up, it says when I go to bed, when to eat, when to turn off my phone.
What's your bedtime? Just curious.
Yeah, I try and be sleeping by 10:30.
10:30, cool.
In bed by like 9:45.
Was that always that way?
No, there were times where I used to be sleeping by 10, but then what happened is I've always kind of woken up early, but I got in this bad habit of like waking up at like 6:30, 6:45. And dude, it doesn't sound bad, but when you're used to waking up at 5, you feel like your morning's shot. And so
yeah, is your strategy let me go get me done, me taken care of, so then I can go help other
everyone
people?
Else. If you're at the gym at 9, your phone's blowing up. If you're at the gym at 8, your phone's blowing up, right? Yeah. Like if I'm up at 5, I know I have it to myself, and like I need that time.
At what time do you turn on what time does the CEO switch flip on? I know that it can't turn off, but
no,
meaning
it doesn't turn off.
When does it start like getting heavy?
Yeah,
at what time?
8.
8? Oh wow, it's early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I'll go do the gym 30 to 45 minutes on the Stairmaster. Once I'm on the Stairmaster, I'm kind of in CE mode. I'm checking what we did yesterday in stats. I'm looking at emails, texting people back. And I kind of have a rule. Like if you call me after 10, I'm calling you at 5.
Got it.
You know, let's just use some common sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You call me after 10, I'm calling you at 5.
Yep.
Right? And I think they get the message. But you know me, like you can call me at 9:30, I'm answering.
Yep.
Right. And I think your best ability as a leader is availability.
Yep.
And I think a lot of times we get caught in like, I don't answer my phone at this time. I was like, nah, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah. So I say this all the time in leadership. I actually went over this with my team yesterday. You have to be unavailable to become available.
For sure. You got to say no.
You got to say no to the trivial, to
sure.
the things that don't matter.
For sure.
Quite often, business leaders are in the business of busyness versus the business of business, because you get validation by being quote unquote busy. And they often focus on things that don't move the needle. And 100%. I say this all the time too. There's nothing more worthless and useless than doing something really well that didn't need to be done at all.
100%.
And so many people in business focus on things that don't matter and don't move the needle because it's in their comfort zone.
For sure.
And they don't want to face the tough, the things that are outside of their comfort zone.
For sure.
So I know that you're super available all the time. So maybe help us unpack that. How are you so available for the things that matter? Like, how do you get to that way where you can actually take the phone calls that you need to take?
Yeah, because I think it's important to understand who your customer is, right? And I think as we've transitioned from sales to CEO, my customer is generally still the same. Like me, my customer is my top 30%, my top 20%. I ain't like, people always make fun of me. Oh, you met with setters. It's like, no, because they're going to be leaders one day.
Sure.
Right. And I'm not above anyone. And I think people take this approach. I'm this. Don't call your manager. You can call me whenever. Right. Hopefully you understand like the chain of command of who you should call first. But like, I'm not above answering anyone's call.
Love
you
that.
work here, I'm answering your call.
Yep.
What I would say too, though, is like my customers, my 20% leaders, my managers, my regionals, like that's my customer. Their customer is their people and the people they sell. And obviously I have an overall approach of like, we sell customers who are strategic install partners are like, there's a lot that goes in the customer we sell, but my customer is my people. And I think if you're not available for your people, they'll go work for someone who is available.
Love that. Love that. Okay. Beautiful. You've mentioned the sales general role to now the CEO role. What is one of the things that maybe you didn't anticipate that would take up your time or your bandwidth or just your energy in the CEO role that you did not have to deal with when you on the sales side specifically? Does that make sense what I'm asking?
Yeah. Makes sense. And that's a lot. I think from the CEO side, it's A, understanding who your customer is, B, understanding that you're going to eat last, right?
So was that a surprise to you?
I mean, obviously I knew what I signed up for. So when we started, you got to understand like we started day one with 300 something reps. Like most companies don't get that opportunity.
Yeah, you gradually grow.
Exactly. You probably have 1,000 today, 1,100. And like I look at it and like we started where most companies are like, hey, how do we get our revenue up? We started with a lot of revenue. The blessing in that is when you have a lot of revenue, you can then go make the tweaks necessary to establish a good bottom line and good EBITDA, right? Most companies are like, how do we increase sales? We had a lot of sales. It was more like, hey, how do we understand the profitability of a business to be aggressive to our sales reps, but also run a healthy and aggressive business? I think the best sales culture is wealthy sales reps coupled with a company that's in a healthy position.
So would you say it was more having to manage that balance sheet and that statement of cash flows and just making sure all the books were in order, where when you're on the sales side, you're just throwing volume in?
Oh, dude, you're ripping, getting paid, right? Like you eat first. And that's why I'm very vocal. And like, dude, you want to all the entrepreneurship stuff, it's like, dude, you want to go be the best B guy. You want to be good at sales because you have less liability, less stress. For me, it's like I got kind of thrown in the fire back against the wall. We had to figure it out how to go provide an experience and an opportunity for my people. There was a lot of different options, but we kind of made our mind up. We're going to go do this. And I feel obviously very lucky to go do it.
So you've mentioned a lot, hey, my back was up against the wall. My wife had to go through these storms with me. Loaded question here. You can answer however you want. But what's one of the toughest things? Again, this is very private, so I'll throw that caution out there. But what's one of the toughest things that you would say Jordan's been through this? And the reason I ask is that's the hero's journey. There is no hero without the storm. There is no hero without having to go through those really dark moments. The darkest nights produce the brightest stars. So if you were to name one or maybe two things that you've had to go through, you're like, man, that was tough, what would those things be?
Yeah, and I try and keep everything in perspective where it's like, dude, what's tough, right? Like I went to Zimbabwe with my buddy who served his mission there, I think in 2015. And like, dude, we do not experience tough here. You know what I mean? Like our tough in America and the opportunity we live in is very, very different and not crazy tough, no matter what you're going through. But I will say, it's like, dude, we all go through hard things. Some people it's relationships, some people it's business, some people it's accidents, death, and business-wise, I feel like I've survived things that would kill most humans. You know what I mean? In the time and the season, they might seem crazy, but you got to look at, dude, all problems stem from the horizon you look at them at. In the moment, you're like, oh my gosh, this is World War III. If you go scale back on a 10-year horizon, you're like, this is the best thing that ever happened to me. And
so
I'm going to share something with you.
But really quickly, do you foreshadow the 10 years when that's happening to you? Are you like, I got to have a 10-year outlook? Are you saying once the 10-year mark hits me, it wasn't that bad? What are you saying?
No, I'm saying you got to have a 10-year outlook in the storms you face today.
So when the problem hits, you're like, what will this look like in 10 years?
Did this kill me?
Okay.
No? Okay. This was fine.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
And
what were you going to share? I don't want to miss that.
no, I just remember when it all kind of came to an end, and you kind of know the story back there in 2020. Dude, it wasn't like an overnight thing. It was something we were dealing with for like 4 or 5 months. And, you know, I think there's this quote by Carl Jung, and he says, the world will ask you who you are, and if you don't know, it will show you.
Yeah.
And I think life's about figuring out who you are. Yeah. At the time when it happened, it didn't. Dude, stuff had happened 4 years prior. It didn't faze me one bit. I know who I am. I know whose back I have. I know who makes mistakes. I know mistakes I've made, and I'm confident in my ability to go reinvent myself. A platform doesn't make you who you are. You make the platform.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And you're usually replaceable from the platform.
Yep.
And you usually can go create your own destiny without the platform.
Yep.
Right? And I understood that.
Look at Vivint today.
Yeah.
The OGs aren't there, and Vivint's ripping right now.
100%. And like, dude, what people don't realize is like, and I'm cheering. Like, you don't see me post.
I'm super stoked.
You ever see me post one bad thing? I got receipts from my last couple months there.
Yeah.
The stats look pretty crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't post any. I hope they dominate. Some of my good buddies live in my neighborhood. Her daughter's her friend. I'll say Aaron Doria. Like,
They're ripping right now.
He knows.
They're killing
I'm
it.
clapping, dude.
Yeah.
I saw
They're doing
Puck
awesome.
and dudes at golfing the other day. I hope they dominate.
Yeah.
Because I'm confident in my ability to go dominate.
Yeah, times
I've
and
created
seasons.
more wealth for my people and myself in the lane we're in than I would have there. I know that for a fact.
Yep.
And at the same time, that doesn't take away from the wealth they've created there. I hope they dominate. We don't sell the same thing. I hope they crush. And I hope people at the space I'm in, different competitors crush, because you want to see everyone win and you want to go beat people at your best. Yeah. So, okay, what happened? You know, obviously, dude, a lot of people get to the top, you get your head cut off. I remember walking, it was crazy because I had a Bandon Dunes tournament. There's this like famous tournament at Bandon Dunes called the Solstice. It was the next day. Solstice, the longest day of the summer. Mm-hmm. You play all 4 courses in a day. And Sheep's Ranch had just opened. That's the 5th course there. And I was flying out that night to go play in that tournament. And I was like, dude, should I cancel? This happened Monday morning. I get a text. I just ran my leadership call. Hey, we got to meet. Knew exactly what. Okay, it's coming to an end. Whatever. It is what it is. And, you know, it was sad. You know, there's some, you know, whatever. Had the meeting, some tears shed, left. I remember walking in the door and my daughter like sprinted me, Daddy. And I was like, dude, I don't care about what just happened. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, this is what
I want to go back.
Yeah.
Wait, chronological order here. Did you still do the tournament or no?
Yeah, the story's not done.
Okay.
I walk in the door.
Okay.
But you
weren't on your flight to the tournament. Okay,
the flight was that afternoon. I pushed it to that night.
Okay.
Because I had to go make a decision. I walk in the door. My daughter runs, gives me a hug. My wife's like, it's fine. It's all good. You know what I mean? Like, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a conversation. Like, she just knows we'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. So she gives me a hug. And it goes back to like the thought of like, dude, in 20 years from now, the only people that remember that you worked hard is your kids. Like, and the only people that remember that you worked late is your kids. Like, so it's like, dude, why? Like, you can go make money. You can go work. And so she gave me a hug. I'm like, everything's gonna be fine. It wasn't like the time, but where I was like, we'll get through this, right? And we did, and it's fine. So I go that night, fly to Eugene, play in the tournament the next day. My buddy, I didn't tell him. I had 1,200 text messages. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, gosh, dude.
Where are we doing? Where are we going?
What's the move? I think my guys all went on strike. People thought I told them not to sell. Half of them didn't know. I think some of my buddies were like, we're going on strike. I think we sold like 300 the day before, 0 the next day. But like, it wasn't me. I was golfing. And it was more of like middle of summer. I was like, finish the summer. The next day I get a hole-in-one at Sheep's Ranch. It's the only hole-in-one I have. It was the first hole-in-one on that hole.
That's
Sheep's
what I was
Ranch
curious to see how you played.
Yeah. Played good. And got a hole-in-one. It was kind of like God winking at me, like, dude, everything's going to be fine. And it's kind of why I've taken the approach, like, the people that actually know me, there's no bitterness in me for what happened. Like, and I hate even talking about it because it's been 5 years. Not hate talking about it, but it's like, dude, I'm so far removed.
Of course.
If I saw a pay scale today, I wouldn't even know what to tell you. It would look like foreign Egyptian. You know what I mean? And I just, dude, go dominate. And I think life's about.
But hold on, because this is so curious to me. Like, because I don't know if I could have gone on that tournament that you did. I think my brain would would have been going 20 million miles an hour. What's next? What am I doing? What's going on? What's at stake here? You literally hopped on that plane and you played that tournament.
Yeah, I sent everyone a text on the partnership text. Let's tear it up. My time's coming to an end. And I remember like crying on the flight. Mainly just like, damn, like, you know what I mean? Like, not sad. Like,
out, yeah.
I wasn't sad like on what I can go do. Like, I'm not, that's easy to go figure out. But people are always like, what's next? And we'll figure it out. And we figured it out. And I think, yeah, I went, played that Solstice tournament. Then my buddies were flying in the next day. I get a hole in one. And like I said, it was kind of like God saying everything's going to be good. And he was right, you know, and flew back and kind of let everyone finish the summer and just kind of put our heads down and figure out, hey, what's the best strategy? And in the moment, you're like, I hope this works. And like when you go run a business, you're like, I had a line of credit. I had to go get a line of credit against my rental properties. And it was like, let's go figure this out.
Now let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
You can answer however you want. Are you happy now that it happened that way? Or maybe let me change the word happy.
Am I happy now? Yeah.
Are you grateful?
100%.
Okay. I switched it.
Yeah.
Because I would have figured that would have been your response, because there's no way that you would be the Jordan Binning that you are today if that wouldn't have happened for you, not to you, for you. And there's no way that you would have been able to impact the people's lives in the way in which you've impacted them, because I know your people.
Yeah.
And they have been very well impacted.
Yeah.
Like they're very, very happy with where they currently are and what they've become as human beings.
For sure. And I think it's given a lot of people a lot of opportunities that they wouldn't have had over
So much growth.
100%.
I mean, you've grown exponentially. Your people have grown exponentially. You're creating so much value for so many people.
For sure. And I kind of look at it through that lens.
And you may not even realize, and I think I've had this conversation with you before, I don't think you realize how much good you've done in the world.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And I feel like, I have a clear vision. I wouldn't say I for sure I'm happier. You got to think like, dude, it was just a stressful time back then.
Yeah.
And I've created way more wealth for my people. I think we have a way bigger vision than what we had. But I also look back and I'm like, I'm grateful for it. I hope all of them dominate, and I hope they do well.
So let me go back. So I just had Daniel Gardner on the show. He did the bare knuckle fight. You probably know the story. Do you know what round he lost in?
No.
Round one.
Okay.
Yeah, he lasted a minute plus.
Yeah.
Like, got knocked out twice.
Yeah.
Like, cut on the first hit. Like, completely cut his eye, blood gushing everywhere. His plan just went out the window. I just interviewed him today, essentially a few days after his fight. Still has the stitches on him, whatever. His face looks terrible.
Yeah.
How do you think he feels today?
Amazing.
Why?
Because courage is something once you go through the storms.
But isn't it crazy?
And you realize, like, it wasn't that hard after all.
But isn't it crazy? Like, some people would think, oh, that guy seems like that guy probably feels like a big failure right now. He won. He won the fight.
100%.
He got into the ring.
Yeah.
And you know this quote, champions are not made in the ring. They're merely recognized there. Yeah. He became a champion when he says, I'm going to go do a bare knuckle fight.
For sure.
I'm going to go against this opponent. I'm going to get my nutrition program, dialed in. Yeah. I'm going to get to the weight number that I need to be in, and I'm going to tell this guy telling me to quit every day to shut up.
Yeah.
And I'm going to freaking show up in that ring.
For sure.
He won that fight.
100%.
He got recognized that day that he's the champion.
And dude, it's the man in the arena.
But that's the thing. That's your arena. You're a champion. That moment allowed you to become a champion.
For sure.
And today you're being recognized for being that champion.
For sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think, dude, the loudest boos come from the cheapest seats. And I think it's easy to be critical.
And listen to me. I think one of the most impressive things with you is how many people, I'm not going to say stay loyal to you, but I'll use the phrase, they continued with your leadership.
Yeah.
Like where are we going? What are we doing? And it's not blind leadership. They know exactly what's going on. So maybe talk to me about that. How have you been able to create this amazing culture and this amazing leadership? Like, how have you been able to achieve this caliber of leadership where people are so loyal to the process and the vision?
Yeah, I think this is a good question. I think, and I get asked it a lot, and I think, I've been blessed, and I have amazing people I work with. I think there's also something to be said on, like, you're loyal to people who took you from the bottom and helped you see the vision to who you could become, and took you along that path with them, right? It's the same reason, dude. I had a boss at Vivint, a couple brothers. And there were times where I got sat down and said, cut their heads off. You're better than them. You need to be like, da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, no, that dude took me. I was a nobody. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't a no. When I went to Vivint, I think I was a top rep in the industry.
Sure.
But dude, I didn't know how to build. I didn't know how to like relationships. I had a team of 15 dudes. You know what I mean? Like I didn't know anything. Those dudes taught me, along with a few others, right? Those dudes taught me everything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'll be damned if I'm going to cut their heads off now that like I don't need them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same way I approach recruiting, building people, relationships. It's like, dude, my job is to help you make more money year over year and progress in leadership year over year. And if I can do those two things, they will never leave. You know what I mean? And I also have an abundance mindset. We've had people leave and they come back. You know what I mean? And the track record on people who have left and come back is very, very high.
How do you elegantly handle that exit
I
where
don't
they're
burn the
welcome
bridge.
back?
You get one chance. You get the transfer portal once. You know what I mean? You transfer in twice, they're not coming back here. You know what I mean? Everyone knows that.
Yeah, let's unpack that a little bit. I think that's interesting.
It's just what it is.
So let's say I tell you, hey, Jordan, I think I'm going to go pursue this other opportunity.
Yeah, tear it up.
Okay.
And tear it up means a lot of things, if I'm being honest. You can think of what it means depending on who sends the text. To be honest, we don't lose a lot of people. We don't lose a lot of people because I try and focus on those two things.
Okay.
Best system, best culture, maximize.
I want to know about your transfer portal, though. Do you ever tell them, hey, do you ever like verbalize that? You ever say, hey, the transfer portal's open, you can come back once? But
yeah, I always end it, tear it up, and don't be too prideful to send me the text when it's time to come back. And we've never had like crazy top earners leave, but like our track record, I could go through the list. There's dudes in our top 30, 40, 50. They come running back. You know what I mean? And
do you have a specific example of somebody that came back that you want to share or no?
Yeah, Ike and Jensen. He came back and made $700,000. You know what I mean?
Versus?
I got way less. Like I'm going to be the VP. I'm going to get a 50-cent better red line. I don't compete on red line. I compete on system and culture. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for us, it's not a
key.
race to the bottom. I'm not trying to be the cheapest. I'm trying to be a premium product, premium service, premium offering. You know what I mean? And I'm not racing to the bottom. And so I'm going to be a VP, cheap red line, this, that. Go do it. Tear it up. Just be humble enough to text me when you want to come back.
So now I'm back.
Yeah.
And I want to leave again.
They never leave.
But hypothetically,
Yeah.
do you ever bring up, hey, don't come back?
No, tear it up. They know they're not
thing.
coming back.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
I was
But
just
to be
curious.
honest, like, fool me once, like, it's second time that we don't really have those conversations. But I think we talk about it a lot. Like, the transfer portal's open once. You know what I mean? And I look at some of our top earners today. They were at other companies last year. You know what I mean? And dude, I hope those other companies do well. I'm not like, it just wasn't a good fit. But if they leave again, they can stay there.
Yeah.
It's easy, you know?
Do you have a word that defines your 2025? Did you pick one?
A word? No, I didn't pick one. I have a lot of words that I kind of like stand for, right?
Yeah, maybe give me one of those as we kind of wrap this show up.
Yeah, I think a big thing I focus on is, it's not a word, it's like a phrase, like, you can't kill me. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like David Goggins' mindset of like, Will Smith said, whoever works the hardest wins. And I'm like, dude, I know what I can control. I know what I'm good at. I'm very self-aware and like, I know what I'm not good at. I have a very good team around me. So when you talk about culture, you talk about loyalty, I know how to go move the needle. I know how to inspire people. I'm not an operator. People always ask, why don't you do your own installs? I'm like, well, have you met Mikey Hines? Okay, then you go meet him one time and you'll never do your own installs too, because I know I'm not an operator. I know what I'm good at. And
was that always easy for you to define that?
No, I think it comes with time.
Meaning saying, hey, I know I'm not great at all things. Was that?
No, dude, you're not great at all things. You need to figure out what you're good at and 10x that.
Because some leaders have a hard time admitting.
They do.
That, hey.
They usually got a business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's why.
I think, listen, the more we can specialize and the more we focus on our unique ability, the better entrepreneurs, the better business owners we are.
For sure. And like, that's why we did setter closer. It's like, hey, focus on your most profitable skill set, hide your weaknesses. Don't let your weaknesses sink your strengths. And that would be my advice in business, is like, too many times, like, dude, you might be A caliber in this lane, but you're a D and an F in these lanes.
Yeah.
Dude, don't let your weaknesses sink your strengths. Understand what your strengths are, 10x down on them.
I do really quickly want to bring up Steven Rosell
Yeah.
because his story is really interesting. He was studying to do nursing.
Yeah.
Or he was a nurse or something.
No, he was a nurse.
He was a
gonna
full-time nurse?
He made $500,000 and like, this is my last year. I'm gonna go be a nurse. Okay. Yeah.
What was he making? What does a nurse make? I guess
Dude, I would
sub
have
100.
no
I
clue.
would assume.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I think so.
And then he made $500,000.
Yeah. And then the next year he made 1.4.
Yeah. So he says, This is what I'm doing. He makes 1.4, and then this last year he made 2. Right.
2.1. Yeah.
Crazy.
But okay, talk about the story and where he developed.
and
Dude, I wasn't a Steve Rosell fan. His bosses, Nick and Ty. It's not like I wasn't a fan, but I was like, dude, he's young. He's kind of like scatterbrained, a little immature at the time. This was 4 or 5 years ago. I look at him today. I'm like, what's changed is, dude, he's a leader. He's duplicated himself. And I think once you take on that hat and that role and that responsibility of leading other people and being responsible for the outcome of their lives and their families' lives, like, you take the job very, very seriously and you understand your mission. And dude, he understands his mission. He's one of the best leaders in the industry, one of the best closers in the industry. He understands what he's good at and he's amazing at it. And that's why he's at a level that he's
so
at.
humble.
He's
He's
amazing.
so
He's
willing
the
to
best.
learn
And what's
and
funny
receive
is I was at the
advice.
gym at 5:30 today. He had just got back because he's having a baby next week, first kid, and he was there. And like, I put a huge price tag on that. It's like, what can I control? I can control my work ethic, my attitude, my mindset. That's why, like, when bad things happen, like, oh, how'd you survive that? It's like, what was I gonna do? Die? Like, you know what I mean? What are your options?
Yeah.
Back against the wall, you figure it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a privilege to have your back against the wall.
100%. Pressure's a privilege.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
Okay. To end it, last words of advice that you would want to give any entrepreneur out there, or anybody, call it direct to home, like some of the main guiding principles that have really helped you out.
Yeah.
How can you send this thing home?
Yeah, a couple things. What gets measured gets managed. And I think switching from sales to CEO, that's like the biggest thing I've been focusing on. What gets measured gets managed. And I think it comes from Peter Drucker. And it's what you focus on is what you measure. And what you measure is what gets managed. And I think it's big on that.
Can you give me some examples?
What gets measured? Okay, if you're not focused, if your revenue feeds the ego, profits feed the family, right? And I think when you start in sales and then you switch
Can I
to
switch
CEO,
that for you?
you can say
Cash
whatever.
flow. Cash flow feeds the family because profit is theory, cash flow is king.
Yeah, 100%.
Because I've read that quote before and I don't agree with that quote.
100%.
Because I get it. If profit is
erase
real,
it. I'm just kidding.
if profit is real,
Yeah.
but profit is, this, it's theoretical.
For sure.
Because it's a balancing act between your accounts receivable and your accounts payable. What
sure.
really truly matters is
cash flow.
my cash flow hitting
Cash
the
flow,
books,
100%.
what I can bring in.
100%. And so I think a lot of times as a business owner, people ask, well, what's your revenue? I'm like, dude, that means nothing if I'm not making money. We'll do 100 to 110
Yeah,
million
but
this year.
you-
We did 87 million last year.
And that's the thing.
This is irrelevant.
And that's my relevance here. So you can be high revenue and you can go kaput.
100%.
And you can be high profit, you can get kaput.
100%.
What saves you?
Cash flow.
Cash flow.
And
Cash
understanding
flow is the
cash flow.
heartbeat of all businesses.
100%. And understanding your cash flow
Yep.
and when it comes in and when it doesn't
Love
and
it.
when you're dry.
Love it.
And I've got obviously, business 101 in that aspect of the job through good CFOs and people I trust and understanding that side of the business, which when you just focus on sales, you don't deal with any of that.
Love it.
Right. So what gets measured gets managed. And I'd also say, like, dude, you have a finite amount of time that's left to like spend with the people you love.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
That's been a big topic
Yeah.
for me lately.
Yeah, it's been a big topic for me mainly because
Is it
what
because of our
matters.
age, do you think?
I think, dude, I don't know. I just had a kid, and I think having a kid's like the most spiritual experience, one of the most you're going to go through in your life, and it just kind of puts things in perspective. I think I've gone through things work-wise that have been super in your face, super abrasive, and this is what I'd say too: is like when you talk about like being amazing at sales or being a CEO, is understand the game you signed up for. And what I mean by that is like, dude, you can't get all the praise if you're not willing to take the bullets, right? You can't take the good and not the bad. Like leadership 101 is taking both. And like when you say, hey, your people follow you, because it's like, dude, I'll run into the storm. And dude, I've ran in the storm and come on the top of the mountain sometimes. The storm's knocked me down a few times, but my ability to get back up. And I think people realize that. And I think understanding opportunities and exploiting them.
golfing with you at your club. What's your club's name again?
Hidden Valley.
Hidden Valley. I shank one off the tee, and it almost hits the guys on an adjacent tee box. and they start mouthing off, and you immediately start mouthing off to protect me.
Yeah.
Like, what's your problem? And we're driving off, and you're like, hey, should we go? Let's go talk to, like, basically, like, I got your back type of thing. And I was like, wow, this guy really has my back. So I thought that was really cool. Like, you know how to take a bullet for everybody in your circle. Like, you really value relationships, and you put your money where your mouth is, my man. So
I appreciate it.
a lot of gems today. If you didn't write down at least 10 gems, you weren't listening. You weren't paying attention. And remember, knowledge is not power. Knowledge is potential. It's the application of knowledge that's power. So pick a few things that rang true to you so you can level up your game. Jordan is full of wisdom. I wish you all the success in the world at New Sun with your family. Congrats on your newborn baby. I'm really excited for what you're currently doing, and this is just the beginning. So
best days are ahead.
Best days are ahead. Much love, everybody. This is Live Life by Design. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.